Hello and welcome to Roses and Rhetoric episode number 50. Unfortunately, my scrappy co-host is not here with me today, but fortunately, we have guest co-host Ginny from the G&T podcast,
Hey.
and we are broadcasting today from Porto, Portugal, as you can see behind us. We have a very special episode planned for today. We have a music review, or not a music review, but a movie review, rather, for Cabin in the Woods 2, which Ginny will read, as well as a travel review for Mainland Greece. But before we get started, Ginny and I just had a very interesting food experience, I would say, at a restaurant we just came from. Ginny, do you want to talk a little bit about that and give the listener/viewer some context on where we're coming from?
Yeah, so I think I need to start off by saying I am like a really big foodie. It's something that defines me as a human. I love going out to eat, love cooking, love culinary experiences, love it all. One of my like idols is Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace. So a little side note is pretty much everywhere we've gone, I'm like, okay, we have to watch the Anthony Bourdain episode. So we watched the one on Portugal. And there's a scene where they talk about, well, Anthony's like, why hasn't Portuguese cuisine taken off like it has in, like other cuisines like Spanish and Italian and French cuisine has in America. But like, why hasn't Portuguese cuisine taken off? And this guy from Portugal was like, well, because it's the Americans' fault and you guys just don't like it. I don't know why. And so, I was kind of excited to try the Portuguese food. Anthony Bourdain was really talking it up, and it just seemed really good. So I think I need to say like a few of the examples of what has happened to us so far with our cuisine that we've had here. The first night we had. So cod is like a really big dish. Bacalhau is what they call it here. Really big dish in Porto. So we went to a restaurant that just serves like cod and all these different styles. Our first night here, we got home. We both got really sick. So that was kind of like our first experience with the Portuguese food. And then I don't know. We just had like a series of like Joe was kind of giving me some giving me a hard time because I was like giving him bad. He was like, why do you keep taking me to bad places? Anyways, this has just been like a phenomenon that we've had. So this morning we have this like full plan. I'm like, we have to go to the church, we have to go get breakfast, we have to record the podcast, and we have to go to the beach. So I had this like plan. So we wake up like pretty early for us, and I'm not gonna lie, me and Joe, we just have like really late internal clocks, I guess. So like we don't really get our day started until like, what would you say?
Yeah, we've just shifted our waking hours a little bit later in the day.
Yeah, so we don't get started until much later. So we got up early today and through this plan, I find this restaurant. It doesn't have that many reviews, but they were all like pretty good reviews. I think there's like 100 reviews. We show up. We ask for something, they're like, oh, our full menu isn't up. And then there's like this going back and forth between the waiter, and he's like running off and like forgetting what we order. And like, it kind of came down to this point for me where I was like,
we had to go to his car.
Yeah, we'd been sitting here for about like 45 minutes, like going back and forth with this waiter. And I'm just like, I'm getting a coffee, I'm not getting anything else. Joe's like, okay, I'm going to get some protein, like something small. He was like really trying to convince me to get something small, but I was like, I just can't. I just know something's going to be off here, just based on the service. So Joe gets this meat stick. And
sausage, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah, it was like, but it's like on a stick. It's like a metal stick. And they come out, and it's like over this like bed of alcohol. I don't really know how to describe it. And he's like lighting this alcohol, and it's not lighting, and
he's like dipping this lighter like into the alcohol.
Yeah.
Like trying to get it to light. And we're just sitting there watching it.
Yeah, we're like, what is happening? And I was waiting for this like big flame or something explosive to happen, and nothing, it wasn't really lighting. And then it finally lit, but because it was windy, we couldn't see the flames. So we were like, okay. So it's like cooking, and he's like,
Well,
do you know what to do?
Yeah, he's walking away, and he's like, you know how to do it, right?
And we're like, no.
Like, do what?
Yeah, he's just like hands us this meat stick, and then, anyways, then we, the flame goes out, and we're like, okay.
Because he tells us he's like, oh, you got to spin it. You got to spin the skewer. And
Yeah.
do like a little like rotisserie. And it's like, how long do I do this for?
Yeah, and so the flame goes out. Joe's like, all right, I'm gonna try it. Joe tries it. Immediately, his face is like bad face, and I'm like, you don't like it, huh? And he's like, Joe. Okay, Joe is like very conscientious. Like, if I probably get a meal I don't like at a restaurant, I'll just like send it back. I don't like paying for things that I hate. But Joe was like really, really more conscientious about something like that. So I had to like kind of pry it out of him. I'm like, it's cold, isn't it? And he's like, yeah. And it's like, it looks kind of raw at this point. And then the server comes back. He's like, done already? And we're like, it's cold. I'm like, it's cold. Joe's just being silent. I'm like, it's cold. I don't know if it's supposed to be cold. And he's like, no. Then he brings back the lighter again, and he tries lighting it. It's not lighting. They take it back into the restaurant. It comes out like 5 minutes later. It's like burnt to a char. The sausage. They didn't even mess around with bringing the.
Well, he brought the lighter out again and tried to light it, right? And he just couldn't light it again.
So they took it back in. Came out 5 minutes later. It's burnt to a char. Joe eats like 3 bites. He gets down to like the butt of the sausage. I'm like, Joe, don't eat the butt, because he's just like making like faces the whole time, and I just knew he hated it. So I was like, let's run, like let's get out of here. We were like debating our exit plan, but we paid, we left, and now we're at a cute little coffee shop on top of this cliff. Church is right above us, so we'll go there after this, and then beach after.
Just a quick final notes on that. While I was inside paying for the sausage, the charred sausage steak, the server actually said that he works another job at another place, so he gave us a good recommendation for another follow-up restaurant we can go to later today.
No.
It's called P4 Lounge Bar and Grill.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So we probably won't go there. I don't know. I don't trust this guy anymore. So yeah, that's our little Portuguese experience. But otherwise, Portugal is like super, super beautiful, guys, and it's really nice. And maybe you don't like Portuguese cuisine, you can always find some Chinese food.
Sure. But anyways, this is supposed to be a mainland Greece review today, not a Portugal review.
Yes.
So let's talk Greece.
Yeah. So I think we're just gonna tell the story in chronological order. Do you want me to start it off, and we'll just kind of take turns, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, go ahead. I need to sip on this lemonade a little bit.
Okay.
Anyways.
Yeah. All right. So we'll start from the very beginning. So in order to go abroad, you have to get a COVID test, and so Joe needed a COVID test, and Joe doesn't like following directions, and he doesn't like. Wait, is that wrong? You do?
I love directions.
You hate directions. You hate directions.
Okay, just continue.
So all the United sends us like this list of things we have to get done before we can fly, and I'm the only one that read it. I don't think Joe read it at all, and so it said get a COVID test 48 hours before your trip. And so for me, I was like, okay, 48 hours before we leave. So I tell Joe, go get a COVID test on this day. Like, you need to get tested. I find him a place. He goes, gets the test. He finally reads the instructions from United, and it tells him, no, it's not 48 hours before you leave. It's 48 hours before you arrive. So Joe, I'm so sorry. I totally dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, I made the unfortunate mistake of outsourcing the scheduling of my test without reading the directions, which is fine, because like COVID tests are something that the more of them, the better, right?
Sure.
The more practice you get, the more your nasal cavities get violated, the better a man you are. I like to think.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I have
So
always said too.
so we didn't realize that the test wasn't going to be valid until the day that our trip was supposed to happen, that we were supposed to get on our flight.
And I think our flight left at like 1 or 2.
Yeah, it was in the afternoon.
And then we woke up like, well, you were at your apartment, I was at mine. I like called you super early, and I was like, so like, what was the test result? And you're like, I have to go get a test right now. I'm on the way right now. And so Joe had to go get a test that same morning.
Yeah, the morning we're supposed to leave for an international flight.
Yeah.
I had to go to like 2 different places because the first place there's like the PCR test and the antigen test, and only one of them works, and only one of them can be done at certain places. And this was like in the beginning. This was like in July, so like people hadn't really shored up the process for tests, and
Yeah.
no one really knew what was happening. So
yeah,
it was a dumpster fire.
And I worked that morning, so I called Joe, and I couldn't really help you because I was working, and I think I got off at like noon that day, and we had this whole plan, like, let's go to the gym before, like, we have our flight, like, let's move because, we're going to be on an airplane for 24 hours, and pretty much that all just went to, that just didn't happen. It didn't happen. But Joe got his test, he passed, and I picked him up. I think you're a little cranky at me that day, and then we made our merry way to the airport. So we got to the airport. Our flight kept getting delayed, which is actually a good thing because of you had to get tested, and I think like your one of your friends also went over to your apartment recently and was like, your house is in shambles, and you're like, yeah, I had to leave in a rush. So
yeah, clothes everywhere.
Yeah,
Refrigerator probably open.
probably.
Oven probably on. No, I'm just kidding.
Scary. So yeah, we finally we were a little worried though because the flight kept getting delayed. We had like this really big tour. So I think our flight was like on a Thursday, and then it takes like, because you move forward a day, but then the flight's also 24 hours, so essentially it takes you like 2 days to get somewhere. So this is like on a Thursday or Friday. We had a flight to Chicago that kept getting delayed, and that was the last flight from Chicago to Europe of the evening because it was like midnight.
Mm-hmm.
I think we arrived in Chicago with like 20 or 10 minutes to spare. And
yeah, like we touched down, and then the next flight left in 10 minutes. At least on paper, it was scheduled to leave in 10 minutes from Chicago to Germany.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got off the plane, and I just started running because like I didn't want to miss the flight. And then next thing I know, I look back and Jenny's just like behind me.
I was like, says, go on without me.
Go without me. Go without me.
Oh, I was hoping you'd like stop the plane for me. I was like, hopefully Joe will pull through, stop the plane for me or something. He'll like stand in the runway, tell him to stop and wait for me.
Yeah, so I ran ahead. I stopped the plane. I held it until Jenny caught up.
No, luckily they were actually waiting for us, which was really, really nice. And there was like a few other people on our flight that were also headed to Europe. So we got on, and I was like sweating because it gets cold on airplanes, so I had like a jacket on, but I also am not really good at cardio, so I was like sweating and my face was like dripping sweat, and I had my mask on, and as you know, if you like are wearing a mask and you're like sweating, you're just like, it's like the grossest feeling in the whole world. So we got on, and we flew with Lufthansa.
Yeah, we flew with Lufthansa.
They like messed up our seats. We like I paid extra for us to sit by each other. They like messed up our seats, but luckily there's like a spot near me, so Joe just came and sat next to me.
Yeah, giant airplane.
Huge. And we I guess we were just like on our merry way off to Germany. So I think we slept on the plane ride. I think we played a few games. We like to play gin rummy, so we might have played some gin rummy. Got to Germany and
got to Germany, ate some schnitzel, hopped on the connection flight to Greece, and then we rolled into Greece. We flew in maybe around I don't know, 8 p.m. or so.
Yeah.
And then we had to hustle because we had a buddy that was waiting for us at the hostel. He had been there a few hours before, and we were going to meet up with him. So we called an Uber, which they had in Greece. That was clutch. Rolled up on the hostel maybe around like 9, 10 p.m. Dropped off our stuff, and then went straight up to the hostel bar. They had like a rooftop bar on this hostel in Athens. Just this awesome view. This is the first time I saw the Acropolis, and it's just so how Athens is set up is it's just this giant plateau in the middle of the city that has like the Acropolis, like Parthenon, like
is it
all
the
these,
Parthenon or Parthenon?
I don't know, one of the two, and it's just this big plateau with all these like ruins on top of it in the middle of the town. It's all lit up, so at night it just looks like super cool, especially if you can get like a rooftop view of it.
Yeah.
So we come to this hostel bar, and my buddy's there. He's made some friends. Drinks are just super cheap. Like I was just buying shots. I bought like 10 shots. They were like €1 a piece. And we made some friends, and then I think we got invited to a party, right?
Well, wait, we should mention. So, I mean, as all the listeners probably know, Joe is an engineer, but he like just retired from his job. So he like told these people that he's a retired engineer, and they immediately like glued onto you because Joe was like buying drinks for everyone. And then I was like, Joe, you have to be careful about who you're telling people.
I know.
You know?
And then had all these Albanian friends surrounding me, following me around for the rest of the night.
Yeah. So yeah, we went to this party, and I was like hungry because I'd just flown, and I'm like a food person, like I mentioned. So I was like, Joe, I want to leave. Like, I need to eat. So we left, and we were kind of like strolling, and we like walked upon this like beautiful courtyard with like vines and trees and Greek music playing. And
and this is around like 11, 12 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah, and this is like our first experience because like everyone in Europe eats dinner like pretty late. So we we like sat down, and it was just like beautiful. It was just like a really magical moment because we had like had the most stressful time flying there, like almost missing our flight, almost missing this really expensive tour we had the next day. It was just I think we were just like under a lot of stress, and this is like super special. And then we looked at this menu, and everything's so cheap. And this is the first time that me and Joe ordered way too much food in Europe, and we still do this because everything's so much cheaper. And like, you know, in America, you get a meal, it's like $15, and then the other person gets like a main dish, it's $15. But here, everything's like $6, $7, $8. So then you're like, oh, I'll get like 4 things, and then you have just way too much food. So
yeah,
that's what we did. I think you had like you had veal.
I ordered a T-bone.
Yeah.
I think it was lamb. I think it came lamb.
Okay.
I was thinking about it.
Veal or lamb. I had like a chicken dish. We had tzatziki. We had dolmas. We had
Greek salad.
We had pita bread. It was way too much food, but we were like in food heaven. It was so good. Then we called your friend and told him to come, and he was like about to leave, so he came, and then we gave him like all of our scraps.
Yeah, we had way too much food. We had to call in some backup.
Yeah.
And too much wine. Like we had like a liter of wine or a couple liters of wine that we bought for like $10.
Yeah, so a lot of the like Greek restaurants, especially in the mainland, they will just have like house wine, so like they will brew their own wine in the restaurant, and it's super cheap, like maybe like 5, 6, 7, €8 for a full liter, which is a lot of wine. I think bottle of wine is 0.75.
Yes, 0.75 liter.
Yeah, it's 0.75 liters, so it's over a bottle, and you know, we would split like one of those and be having a really nice time. So yeah, we had a liter of wine, and then I'll let you say the next part.
Yeah, so we were in sort of a dodgy neighborhood, I would say.
It wasn't dodgy, but like
it was kind of dodgy. And as we were walking home, we had a couple of, this was our first encounter with gypsies. Not real gypsies, but just like the kids. Like there's like a bunch of like 6, 7, 8-year-olds just like running around the streets at like 2 a.m. just trying to like sell stuff or like steal your money or whatever.
Well, I think we should kind of like give a little background on like the Roma people of Europe, because they've been persecuted for like hundreds of years, and they're kind of like a group that's on the fringes of society, and they're very like underprivileged, and there's a lot of like historical racism that are involved with that group. So I think that's something to look into, and we don't want to be like disrespectful of the Roma people by telling the story. It's just what happened to us.
Yeah. So specifically, one of the little gypsy kids or Roma kids was a little aggressive, a little more aggressive than the rest of them. He was this little boy, probably around the age of like 8 or 9 years old. We don't know if they were
gypsies. They might have just been like a thief.
Yes.
Just a side note.
So this little kid just comes up and he just like keeps badgering us. It's like me, Ginny, and like our friend Logan, and he just like, I don't even think he was speaking English. He just kept like asking us for money, and we were like, no, we don't have any money. Like, go along, and then he just kept badgering us until finally Ginny just like pushed this poor little oppressed gypsy kid.
I did not
shoved him. This 8-year-old.
I did not push this child.
She pushed the child.
I told him, run along, because he was like in our face, and so I told him to run along, and he got very, very upset and tried to punch me. Luckily I ducked and he didn't hit me.
First of many fights that Ginny's gotten on this trip.
Oh my goodness. No. And so yeah, so that happened. And then we went back and we all passed out. And then we woke up and we woke up and me and Joe needed to go to an ATM to get some money for the trip. So we went to an ATM.
Yeah, my US dollar did not go as far as I thought it would. Not even the gypsies wanted it. So it was at that point we realized. Okay, the Roma didn't even want it.
They could have been a thief. We don't really know.
Okay, the thieves didn't want it. So I realized that we needed to get some euros, like ASAP. So that's the first thing we did the next day.
Yeah.
We found an ATM.
Yes.
Got some euros, and then what? We had some breakfast.
So we went to go get money, and then we stumbled upon this breakfast place, and we ordered way too much food.
Again.
Yeah, again. And now we have kind of like this joke, because it's really like common to see tuna on pizza here. So Joe ordered tuna on pizza, and me and Joe like hate tuna on pizza now. We think it's like disgusting. So we had some of that. Joe like didn't eat it.
But it's all right. We brought it back for Logan.
They had some baklava. So good. And then we went back to the hostel and gave Logan our scraps again. And then Taz arrived, and I was taking forever to get ready.
Taz is our tour guide. We had a tour guide set for like a several-day tour.
Yeah, and we had paid all this money for it. So that's why we were really stressed out about
missing our flight.
Exactly, because if we would have missed this tour, it just would have been
it would have derailed everything.
Yeah, so we Taz arrives, I'm still getting ready, the boys go down there. I think they're like waiting for me for like 10 minutes.
No, probably like 35 minutes.
No way. That's an exaggeration, but
Tez was cool. He's like an Australian Greek dude, so he had an Australian accent, but also like spoke Greek.
Yeah.
And he was just super cool. Rolled up in like some Mercedes van and just
with like cookies on the inside. He like got us special cookies, and then we were off, I guess.
Then we were off to Delphi.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell them what Delphi is?
So Delphi is a historical site that was created in like before Christ. I don't know exactly when. It was like thousands of years before BC Christ. Which is a little insane to me, because for me I think of like civilization starting with Christ. And I just feel like it wasn't advanced before Jesus came around. So I don't know. This is like very shocking to me to think that this is built before then. So anyways, this is an ancient historical site for the Greek gods. And I would say, like, I think, like, Southern Europe, like, they worship Greek gods for thousands of years,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And it's like all Greek mythology came from here, like here specifically. And this is the location of the oracle. So this
Yes.
is where the maidens would sit on top of the umphalos, right?
Umphalos, yeah.
This like egg,
Yeah.
and they would just like somehow hallucinate and bring back all these visions from the oracle.
Yeah, and so
It's like this is where during 300 where Leonidas went to decide if he should go to war with the Persians or not.
so, well, I think that's a little bit after.
It's the same place.
Oh, okay. Okay. So,
The oracle at Delphi.
okay. So, yeah, basically, this place is like in the most beautiful location, like on a cliffside in this mountain. It's like green, gorgeous. It was very warm. It just looked like, I don't even know how to describe it. It looked so picturesque. And we went into this beautiful museum before that was like really, really nice. And then we toured the ruins. You didn't say what was in the ruins.
Well, so the museum was epic. It just had all these like ancient sculptures, pottery, and all this, just thousands of year old things. And I think this is before like Ginny really had proper museum etiquette, before we like really taught her that. So she would just like go around and just like touch everything, like all these like 3,000-year-old sculptures. She would just go and just start like getting all her finger oils all over them, like touching them, and I think you said that you did say that you felt something come off of them, something powerful come off of them.
Yeah, I felt some like 3,000-year-old finger oil from ancients come off on my fingers, so the mixture was like really, really nice.
No, you said you felt a feeling. Can you talk like?
Yeah, it's the oil, I think. It's the finger oil.
Did it give you any powers or any like, insight or anything?
I think I did gain a little bit of insight. I think I became a little bit more intelligent. In what ways? Don't ask me, but just in general.
Yeah. So.
But you too. So I was touching things, and I was like, Joe, you gotta touch this.
She's like, it's powerful. It's powerful.
And so Joe would like touch it too. And so finally, I'm like touching this like pot, and someone's like, "Don't touch that!" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know I was." But I was kind of like doing in secret the touching of the historical items. I feel really bad. I felt like if they didn't have like a gate around them, then I could just like touch it. Like I
just have at it.
I just didn't know. Like I really didn't know. So yeah, that happened in the museum. And then so after the museum, we went to the ruins. There's like, all the, I don't know, describe like what ruins were there. There's like
there's all these temples. Like there's the Temple of Apollo, the Temple of Athena.
Well, the Temple of Athena was like down more.
It's all in the same location, but yeah, it's all these different temples, like leftover ruins. Like this used to be like a main cultural center. They have this amazing stadium at the very top of it, like where they used to do like Olympic type games, where people would come from all over the world just to go there.
We should add a little side note here, because me and Joe keep talking about this. It's so interesting how for centuries people have been wrestling and like playing for sport and games and
competing.
Like yeah, and me and Joe were like kind of talking about like, why is that? Like what is inherent in humans that we just want to like fight each other or entertain, or I don't know. I think this would be interesting if you have any insight, message, Rose and Rhetoric, because we've been kind of debating that a little bit. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, there's a ton to see at this spot. It was hot. A lot of walking. I would definitely, like, if you were to go to Delphi, try to pick like an overcast day maybe, or like a day that's not too like burning hot.
Wear a sun hat. Bring your sunscreen.
Yeah.
You
but if you go to Greece
or something, I don't know.
If you go to Greece, you have to go to Delphi, even though it's like a few hours out of Athens and away from most things, because it was awesome.
And we would love to recommend our tour guide to you if you are interested. He was incredible, and he knew so much history about the site. And
he always had cold waters in the van, ready to go.
Yeah, which was so nice. So after that, then we left, and went to a nice little restaurant on like a cliffside. There's a photo that Joe took there. There's like roses in the photo, and he's overlooking, and we had
Yeah,
just
you can see a Jose Fourscores under
four
Cuervo.
scores underscore.
Jose Fourscore under. I can't say it. Can you say it?
Jose 4_ Cuervo.
Yes. Fourscore. I'm getting like the Abraham Lincoln speech confused with it. On Instagram. Yeah, you can see it there.
So it's a really nice photo, and Taz like recommended some really nice dishes to us. I think Logan had like moussaka. You had like something in like paper. It was like I don't know. It was like I don't know. It was like lamb or something. I had more chicken skewers. That's pretty much my like thing that I had all throughout Greece.
Well, you're upset because the dolmos came with beef in it, and you don't eat beef, so you couldn't have the dolmos.
That made me so sad. I love dolmas, and yeah, we had like maybe 2 liters of wine. I think we had a red and a white this time. Normally we go for just the red.
Yeah.
And I liked traveling with Logan, your friend, because he was like, well, I'm on holiday, because he would just be like down for whatever. So yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah. And we needed that because it was a reoccurring trend where he kept eating all the food and drinking all the wine that we couldn't finish.
Yeah. So
Thank you, Logan.
Thank you, Logan. So then we drove for like another 3 hours to Kalambaka or Kastraki. I don't remember which one was which. One is like, I think Kastraki is actually the small town. Kalambaka is the big town. Not sure. I might be getting them confused. We stayed in the smaller town. And this village is actually at the at the base of the cliffs of Meteora.
And this is in northern Greece, right?
Yes, this is in northern Greece. Meteora are these medieval monasteries that were built on the very top of cliffs, like on cliff sides, because these rocks are just insane rock formations. They're literally just, I don't know how to describe it.
Think like Yosemite, think like Half Dome, that type thing, like maybe a little bit smaller than that, but there's all these like giant rocks that just protruded out of the earth, or like Devil's Tower in Wyoming, if you know what that is. But these things are like all over, and at the very top of them, they just assembled all these monasteries and nunneries. There's a good like dozen plus of these just on different cliffs throughout this like town.
Yeah.
And
they're giant.
Yeah, Tez just like drove us around in this tour bus, and he just like drive us up to each one and let us go. I think that the monks were a little bit more like relaxed and chilled than the nuns. I don't think the nuns liked me very much.
And this is the beginning of when Joe started getting yelled at very often. I'll let Joe kind of tell the story.
Well, so we first rolled up to our first nunnery, like after going to a monastery. And
sorry, there's flies, guys.
The first thing they did was they looked at my shorts and they're like, "Oh, your shorts are too short." And then they like gave me a pair of like paper pants to wear or something. So I had to like wear these paper pants, and I'm like, okay, if the nuns can't handle it, it's all right, I get it. And then we go in, and we're in the monastery. We're like looking around, and then I don't know. Maybe you should tell this part. I might be a little bit biased.
Sorry, guys. There's so many flies. I'm gonna cover up our little pastry really quick. What the?
Just eat the pastry.
Well, I don't want to eat it on camera because then I'll be like slurping and.
Oh yeah. Good
call. So we, first we go to this monastery, and Joe got the okay for his shorts there. They were just strict. It was a small one, and there's the tabernacle, which is kind of like a hidden, very secret part of the monastery that people are just, the common person isn't supposed to see. So there's like like what do you call it, a shroud, or would you call it curtains?
It's a curtain.
There was like
behind the altar. There's a curtain.
And remember, these are medieval, so I think I want to say like they're built like 500 AD. So Joe sees this curtain in this ancient historical site. Joe just opens up the curtain, and he's like taking his photo, and he's like
full flash. Yeah,
he's like flash taking photos inside the tabernacle, which is like nuts. And he's like, "Ginny, come look at this." And of course, I'm curious. I like came and looked. And then he got away with that one. So we'll go to the next one. This is when Joe got dress coded and had to put on his shorts. Joe does it again. He pulls it open, except the nuns are on high alert at this one. They come after Joe. They're like, delete those photos. Like,
Yeah.
they full on yelled at Joe.
I don't know if it's the first time I got yelled at in the trip, but it might have been.
Yeah, and then as it turns out, later we looked at some of the photos Joe was taking at this nunnery, and he was taking all the photos of the little devils. Bad news, bad news. What's up with that, Joe?
I'm just trying to document the monastery, the nunnery. Keep good documentation.
But
luckily I deleted the pictures, so I didn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
I just got yelled at, and then I think we shortly left after that and just kept going to these different monasteries, which were awesome. And you can see pictures on my Instagram at
Jose_4. Just kidding. 4_ Cuervo. And yeah, they're really nice. So after that, it was time for us to go back home. So we were in the car for like 5 hours. We pull up to Thermopylae, which is where the Battle of 300 occurred. I have to be honest, it's not, it wasn't that special of a spot. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it.
Yeah, there's really nothing to see. It's like they think it kind of happened there, so they like put a statue or two of some Spartans.
Yeah.
And then they like let us walk around in a wash for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. It wasn't very like worth it to go see.
But it was just like way out in the middle of nowhere. But they did have some hot springs they took us to afterwards, which was cool.
Which is one of the 7. Sorry, there's so many flies around us right now. Which is one of the 7 entrances of Hades, actually. Which is in Greek mythology. So we got to see one of those.
What does that mean? What does the 7 entrances of Hades mean?
So there's 7 entrances of the Greek god Hades. So like the devil, I don't know.
Like there's 7 ways to enter the Greek god Hades?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert here.
But the thing with the hot springs is if you ever do it, make sure you take off all your jewelry beforehand.
Oh yeah.
Especially your silver, because her silver turned black.
Yeah, and I didn't get it fixed until we got to the Greek islands.
Yeah.
So then we were done with that, and we went back to the mainland, Athens. It was like full day. I think it was evening. We got back. We were pretty tired, but we wanted to get like a drink somewhere. So I found this pretty cool rooftop bar that we went to. We had some like espresso martinis, and it was just beautiful. You could see the Acropolis and the Parthenon. I don't know what it is. It was just really, really beautiful. And then we wanted to do a really big day at the Parthenon in the
Acropolis the next day.
Yeah, so I think we just went back after that, and then we did the Parthenon and the Acropolis. What was like your favorite part about that area, or like what do you remember the most? Or
I remember. So fortunately, it was like during COVID time, so like they were limiting the amount of people that were entering everything. So I think we got like pretty rare experience where we got to see a lot of these museums and archaeological sites where there was just like not that many people around, which was cool. So we got some good pics there. And then we also went to the Archaeological Museum in Athens, which was awesome. It was cool. I think Jenny got yelled at for touching more pottery there.
Oh, no, you got yelled at. Remember you were doing the pose?
Okay, so there's a statue of like either Zeus or Poseidon. It's like a famous bronze statue. They don't know who it is because it's just like a picture of them holding something. But like whatever that something was is gone. And they don't know if it was a trident or a spear, which determines if it's Zeus or Poseidon or Zeus. So anyways, he's just making some like weird pose, Heisman like pose. And I went in front and I like did the same pose. And I was like, here, Jenny, take my picture. And then next thing I know, there's just like some dude with a mask running at me, like yelling at me. And I like don't know what he's saying, so I'm just like still holding the pose, hoping Jenny's gonna take the picture, trying to hold that frame. And eventually we like understand that he's like, oh, you can't pose like he's posing. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Not sure if we got the picture or not. I don't think so. We got some other good pictures of it that you can see on my Instagram. But yeah, that was the second time I got yelled at in Greece in 2 days. And then yeah, it's an awesome museum.
It's a very nice museum.
And what else? What else is there to say about mainland Greece?
Definitely go to the museum. Definitely go to the Acropolis and the Parthenon. That whole hill area is really beautiful. I think like a few side notes is, just keep your wits about you. In Athens, there's a lot of pickpockets, and just be careful. Oh wow, I think we have a movie review too.
We do. So I'll let
I think you said the wrong title too. It's A Quiet Place.
Oh, what did I say? I said Cabin in the Woods.
A Cabin in the Woods.
Oh yeah, it's A Quiet Place 2 is the movie review. And before we close out on any thoughts we had on mainland Greece, we'll read this.
Yeah.
Deliver the movie review.
Do you want to split it with me, or do you want me to just do the whole thing?
I want you to bang it out, do the whole thing.
Okay, I'm gonna have to be drinking some water throughout this because my lips are a bit chapped and I'm a little dehydrated right now. Okay. All right. Movie A Quiet Place Part 2. Where to watch? Paramount Plus or available to rent on demand. What it's about. Picking up where the last film left off, what's left of the family adventures from their home in search of other survivors while attempting to evade the aliens that kill anything that makes a sound. Is it good? It isn't packed quite the same emotional punch as the original, nor does it have anything as tense as the birthing scene from that first outing, but that hardly means it's lacking in either quality. This is a taut thriller that delivers exactly what fans think of the original, myself very included. A lot. John Krasinski's success as a director of a horror franchise is one of the most pleasant film surprises in the last decade. He ventured into filmmaking earlier than most people realize, helming a well-cast but wanting adaptation of David Foster Wallace's brief interviews with hideous men between The Office's 4th and 5th season. He followed that up with The Haulers, assembling another impressive cast, but failing to find the tonal balance between the film's moving drama and overly broad comedy. Through his first 2 films, Krasinski had proven a competent, if uninspired, maker of earnest dramas, and there was no reason to believe his next work would be a thriller, let alone a near masterpiece. Yet, that's exactly what he did, and many of the same ingredients remain in his sequel. Krasinski's clever use of sound, going back and forth between normal sound and the total silence daughter Reagan's experiences, is once again a highlight, building suspense and allowing us a better understanding of how Reagan navigates the world. Krasinski's camera work remains effective at building jump scenes and navigating action sequences, especially in the opening scene depicting the aliens' arrival that allows him to truly flex his filmmaking muscles. Granted, that sequence doesn't make any sense for those with a clear memory of the first film, but it's enough fun to excuse that. While the creature design, essentially linkier versions of the Demogorgons from the Stranger Things, continues to be creepy. Of course, having a wife who's one of our best living actresses continues to be a not so secret weapon as Emily Blunt is once again fantastic, but this time she takes a backseat to the children. The first film was squarely focused on parenthood. It dealt with everything from losing a child to giving birth to doing whatever it takes to keep your children safe, up to giving your own life. That thematic structure is what gave the movie its emotional core and power. This one transfers that over to the children having to grow up in the wake of losing their father. Millicent Simmons Reagan drives the story, setting off to try and find other survivors, and she and Noah Jupe, as her younger brother Marcus, are every bit up to the challenge of leading this movie. Admittedly, none of this works particularly well if you haven't seen the first film. Knowing exactly what this family has been through and lost is what makes the emotional beats work, but it's to Krasinski's credit that he doesn't bog the film down with needless rehashings of flashbacks of the original events. Truly, my favorite thing about this film is how lean it is. With over triple the budget of the original, Krasinski could have easily padded this thing out to nearly 2 hours, but instead it clocks in at 97 minutes, barely longer than the original. Without giving too much away, there are two meetings with other two groups of survivors where Krasinski could have chosen to draw things out and delve deeper into exactly who these new characters are. A lot of filmmakers would have done so, and some viewers will likely be bothered with the lack of explanation for one of these groups. But Krasinski is smart enough to realize that the focus should remain on the Abbott family, and that thrillers work so much better when you keep the tension ratcheted up. Indeed, the last half hour of this movie is nonstop suspense, and it is glorious. Don't see it unless you've already caught part 1, but A Quiet Place 2 ably explains its world, features strong performances across the board, and delivers thrills like few films have since the original came out. Grade? B+. Other films to watch. Before you watch this one, A Quiet Place, for another intense thriller with a deaf protagonist, Hush, and for more families evading aliens, War of the Worlds.
So there you have it, another amazing movie review
Yeah.
by the official Roses and Rhetoric film correspondent, Joe Matz.
And have you seen that movie yet?
I've seen part 1. I haven't had a chance to see this one yet. It's kind of hard to get Wi-Fi in Europe, but once we get some good Wi-Fi, definitely going to watch this. Love John Krasinski. I think everything he touches comes out super well.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen it, but I definitely am very enticed after reading that review, so I think I'm going to have to.
So that wraps it up for our movie review. I just want to hand it back over to Ginny, see if she has any closing comments on mainland Greece, or I don't know, anything that we've talked about so far you want to rehash on.
No, I think we covered it pretty well. I mean, yeah, like I said, definitely go to Delphi. Be careful, keep your wits about you anywhere you're traveling. Just enjoy it too. It's cheap, it's fun, it's historical. You can't really ask for much more when you're going somewhere.
Yeah, so I think that's about it for this episode.
Yeah.
Clocking in under an hour, which is
Cool.
good. That's what we were going for. We hope to very soon continue these reviews and take it. The next location would be the Greek islands, which include Santorini, Mykonos, and Crete.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking about those next time. Why don't you plug your social and then we'll close it out.
Yeah, feel free to follow me at Ginny Kitties on Instagram. That's my main account. If you're interested in my foodie adventures, like I kind of talked about earlier, you can follow my food account at Ginny Eats. And if you want to listen to my podcast at G&T, I know I have a lot of Instagram accounts that gotta keep it interesting, and I don't want to bog down any of the pages with other stuff. So.
Yep. And like always, you can follow me at Jose_Cuervo. Or you could follow the Instagram of Roses and Rhetoric, Roses_Rhetoric. That's the same handle for Twitter too, which we post all the time on. So message us there, talk to us there, find us there. And yeah. I think that's about it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yep, so this is Joseph Stanford on behalf of Ginny's Kitties saying ciao.
Ciao.